Welcome to the Left Coast Live. It is Monday, July 8th. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, joined as always by Stat Pat, stateless patriot of the Central Valley. We are both Californians seriously concerned about this country, and we're going to get into why over the course of the next hour or so. We're going to get into the fallout after the fallout, but real quick, Stat Pat, we had a week in between recordings. What do you think of the mainstream media's kind of recovery efforts here and damage control, if you will? Would you describe it as that?
I mean, I'm seeing on both sides, honestly. I'm seeing the growing calls of concern, the growing calls for Biden to step down, step aside. And I'm also seeing, I'm honestly seeing nothing but concern, honestly. But there's also a lot of pushback coming from the Biden camp and Biden loyalists and whatnot. And they're kind of working overtime right now to kind of prove themselves. Biden in particular, that I'm the only one that can do this job, Jack. I look at my record. Look what I've done. If anybody wants to challenge me, I'll see you at the convention. It's like, he's always been arrogant. Yeah, like there's that famous moment of him in the 2008 presidential debate when Mike Gravel called him out for it. Like you've got a certain arrogance to you, Joe. That it could be more true. He's a total narcissistic, arrogant prick, and he doesn't. I don't think he understands the gravity of like the situation, the unique situation that America is in right now. He doesn't see the writing on the wall. He's insulated. So all I can do is throw my hands up in the air because it's just coin flip after coin flip, And he's the only one that can actually make a difference. And it sucks that everything is all left up to him because countless people are concerned. Multiple Democrats are coming out and saying that he needs to step down. Endless concern from the media as well. Even people that he are fond of him, or that media figures that he's fond of himself. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
I saw a lot of inconsistency. There seemed to be quite a bit of waffling. There was what seemed like universal agreement that he should get out of the way and let someone else step in following the debate, even during the debate, because the media was all over Gavin Newsom following that debate. Yeah. And then they went into damage control after that weekend.
Yeah.
And now we're back circling for a second time into momentum swinging towards Biden being replaced. Now, This is Steve Kornacki, the king of all numbers here, that I'm going to share. So Steve Kornacki's superior data analytics here. Should Biden be running? Now, this is February versus post-debate.
Should he be running for president? They've asked that throughout the year. Back in February, 37% of voters said that Biden
just a little bit louder.
should be running for president. Now, right after the debate, they have that number dropping to just 28%. By comparison, they asked the same question about Donald Trump post-debate. The number is 46%. Now, more specifically, in response to the debate, they asked this: what should Biden do right now in the wake of this debate? And in this CBS poll, 64%, basically two-thirds of the electorate, said he should step aside. And I think what's particularly troubling for Biden in that number, not just the fact that it's two-thirds, is look at within his own party. This isn't just his political opponents saying he should get out of the race. This is worry within his own party, concern within his own party. 45% of Democrats saying that Biden should step aside.
I'm actually surprised that number is not higher.
Right.
45% of Democrats say step aside. I would have thought it'd be closer to 50, but hey, I'll take 45. It seems like it's enough to justify continuing to talk about it. And again, we come down to the show where a lot of people on the left like to think it's not a show. Well, it is. Politics is a show, just like it's a competition. Maybe you don't think it should be. Well, that's too bad, because it is.
Yeah.
So let's get into the idea of making it a show. Can you imagine the historic level of media frenzy that would come from an open convention? Oh, it'd be fantastic. It'd be fantastic. Now, it's a high-risk scenario. It's a high-risk scenario because we got the Chicago curse that we'll talk about in a few minutes. But let's let Steve wrap up his data.
Yeah. Obviously, that performance, I think, just reinforcing and maybe even increasing in terms of its potency, the main concern, or one of the main concerns we've seen over and over when it comes to Biden, and that is his age. This is a Gallup poll just before the debate, and already going into the debate, 67% of voters said they considered Biden too old to be president. That's 30 points higher than the number for Donald Trump. And just take a look at the other oldest nominees in history. John McCain in 2008, Dole 96, Reagan in both of his campaigns. The number was somewhere in the 30s, even the 20s for Reagan. That Biden number is a number we've never seen for any candidate before. And I will say, as we wait for definitive polling, we do have one poll that is now asked the horse race question after the debate, asking Biden versus Trump after the debate, who are you for? It's just from one state. It's from New Hampshire. But in that New Hampshire poll, this is out just a couple minutes ago, Trump leads by 2 points in the New Hampshire poll. If you can read my writing, Trump +2. And the critical thing there is in 2020, Biden carried New Hampshire by 7.5 points. So we don't have a pre-debate poll from
it's almost like
someone was the pollster here.
When you tell the New York, no, not New York, when you tell the New Hampshire Democrats basically go fuck yourselves, they're going to hold a lot of resentment for you. Because that state was like closer than any other state. They were swinging kind of hard for Marianne Williamson, but the Trump campaign, the White House, was basically like, we're going to make. I think it was like, we're going to make South Carolina the first primary, the first contest or whatever it was, and that really pissed off the New Hampshire Democrats. So they're like disenfranchised basically. I don't blame them for feeling that way. They're not going to flock to the polls and say like, oh yeah, we're behind Biden, because like why would they? They got stiffed. So yeah, that poll isn't very surprising.
One had been in December. They had Biden up 10 then. This is their first poll since December. But at least compared to the 2020 result in New Hampshire, their poll just after this debate is a pretty big shift.
Yeah, that's certainly a warning sign for the Biden campaign. So, Steve, what about the alternatives? What do we know about feelings for Vice President Kamala Harris?
You turn up
and you just heard, Mike taking you through all of the sort of political machinations that are involved there. But here's the dilemma for Democrats. You could just see it in the numbers. Take the basic question. It's a good measure of every politician. Favorable, unfavorable. 2 recent polls asked it about Joe Biden. You could see here he was 39 favorable, 58 favorable. This is about a week ago. About 2 weeks ago, 44, 56 in Fox. These are not good numbers. But they asked the same question in these same polls about Kamala Harris. These numbers aren't even, aren't better. In fact, they're a little bit worse. Her favorable, 37 in the same poll where Biden's is 39, 41 in the same poll where it's 44. And with what Mike just told you there, that's a huge consideration, or it probably is for Democrats, because if you do say Biden is very weak, got to get him out, got to get somebody else in. If Kamala Harris is likely to be that nominee, Democrats have to ask themselves, is that really going to enhance their political positioning?
God.
Okay, Steve Court.
She wouldn't be old. I mean, that's
good
the
question,
biggest thing going
Steve.
against him. She wouldn't be old. I mean, that's the biggest thing going against him.
So wait a second. Look at those numbers, though.
Yeah.
Good call on going with Kamala Harris as vice president in 2020. Good call.
God damn it.
If we just had a strong VP, I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. If we just had a strong VP, we would be okay. But we don't. And so now the whole issue is, okay, so I got 2 things to cover here. All right. So the first is the sequence, okay? Let's go with the most obvious sequence. The way I see it is there are 3 paths that could lead to different combinations of president and vice president for Joe to get replaced. Okay, one is obviously just straight up Kamala. Okay,
Yeah.
Kamala is the POTUS. We could replace her now, or you could replace Biden with Kamala now. Then you could pick out a fun vice president pick. Probably can't be Gavin because they're both Californians from the Bay. And you probably want to go with someone like Whitmer or our favorite, Wes Moore, in terms of the contenders. That might be fun. Go with an all-black ticket. So there's the Kamala plus whoever. Kamala plus Gretchen or Kamala plus Wes. Kamala plus anybody, right? Probably anybody but Gavin. Now, based on those favorability numbers we just saw, is it strategically sound to have Kamala Harris be the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party? Based on these favorability numbers, is it advantageous or disadvantageous to have Kamala Harris be the replacement nominee for Joe Biden? Obviously, it's disadvantageous.
Yeah.
You want someone that's going to be polling better than the status quo, better than what you got already. Look at this. This is ridiculous. She's worse in the Economist YouGov poll.
And the thing is too, I've actually seen, because it varies too. Like there's a few different polls that, like there are some that where she's up slightly, and then some where she's just basically the exact same as Joe Biden. But what I would like to know is if it's not going to be Biden, is if there are polls that have been taken with like side by sides with Kamala or whoever, that especially show their strengths or disadvantage, I guess you could say, in the swing states, the states that Biden has to win in order to pass the threshold of 270 electoral votes. Because like nationally, like these numbers, she could be down slightly behind Biden, like overall, but if she does better in those like crucial states, then I don't care. Replace him. He needs to step down. Like,
I think you might be hitting on a basic reality of this election that sometimes when you get into these complex decisions where if you go this way, you can't go that way. If you go that way, you can't go this way, right? It's best to just figure out one thing that makes the most sense. Put that down as an anchor and say, okay, let's try to figure everything else out now. Gretchen Whitmer as VP, no matter who the presidential nominee is, makes the most sense. You need Michigan. Biden's not going to get Arizona. He's probably going to lose Nevada too. He's probably not going to get Georgia again. He's going to need Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin again. So the best way to ensure that you get at least one of those, and it does have a little bit of a bleed over effect in the Midwest. You know, there's a lot of people from Michigan that live in Wisconsin and so forth. So that will be the easiest decision, is Gretchen Whitmer for VP. Now, the big question is, do you go with Kamala or Gavin for president? And if you go with Gavin or you go with anybody other than Kamala, how do you step over her? Okay? What I think needs to happen is when Kamala takes the reins of the nomination process, I think they're going to put this off to the last minute, and there should be a call for an open convention. That's what should happen. What should happen is this should go to an open convention. This scenario, like some people are getting upset and saying that this process is no longer democratic. This is garbage, because the new information of seeing him at the debate, yes, it was new information because it was explicit. Yeah, we've seen him kind of stumble around at public events and not really know where he is, maybe whatever, this, that, and the other thing. We have never seen him have to think on his feet, and I wrote a huge paper about this in college about how this is when we only see the public leaders for who they really are, is the debates. The problem with the debates used to be that they would be so close to the election that people had already made up their minds. Both candidates, all they had to do was play defense. They wouldn't take risks unless one of them was really far behind. This was beautiful. This debate was a blessing, America. This is our opportunity to actually defeat Trump, because if this debate doesn't happen, and it happens in October like it usually does, or late September, then people will be like, well, we can't replace him now. This is it. This is just a disaster. We lose. We actually have a chance here.
Right.
We have a chance to demonstrate courage and say, yeah, okay, it's not who we voted for in the primary process. Give me a break. The primary process, the Democratic Party primary process is respectable. There's nothing respectable about the Democratic Party primary process, and anybody who suggests that there is doesn't know what a superdelegate is.
For real.
Because it's that simple. Like as soon as you understand what a superdelegate is, you realize that like the party elders and the powers that be within the party, the people that really understand how the party works and how the party's money moves, they want to be in control. And so that's why they have superdelegates. Say what you will about the Republican Party, their primary system is fundamentally more democratic than the Democratic parties.
Ironically enough, yeah. And what's really shitty too is just a few things actually. Pledged delegates, they can't like all of a sudden become like unpledged as well. If that happens, Kyle Kulinski actually made a really good point about this. It sets the precedent to where if we get a nominee on the Democratic side in the future, if Biden fucking miraculously wins and we actually do have elections in the future, then like say if we get like a leftist candidate that's actually really progressive and is really popular, but the Democratic establishment doesn't like them, the elites don't like them, they can pull their pledged delegates and have them flip to whoever the runner-up is, someone who's more corporate friendly, someone who's more status quo. And that might be an issue in the future if pledged delegates at the convention decide to change their pledges to a different candidate if it is an open convention. Go ahead.
I understand that analysis, but I don't think we can be afraid of precedent. We can say something to the effect of, this is a very unique circumstance. We are only doing this one time.
Right.
I mean, the spirit of this protection is in the general election system too, with the delegates, and it should have been used in 2016 to prevent Trump from getting in office, where the actual people who cast the votes for the Electoral College can, in an emergency situation, vote for whoever they want or vote for another candidate. So that could have and should have happened, but it didn't, even though the framers put that in protection. But we're so afraid of establishing a new precedent. I suspect that Kulinski's logic is right in that could happen. But I believe if you come into the convention with a ton of popularity, they're not going to mess with you. And no matter what happens, win, lose, this generation of DNC establishment politicians is on trial for putting us in this situation to begin with.
Yes, no kidding.
They have not heard the end of the mistakes that they have made, both consolidating the candidates to squeeze out Bernie and make sure Biden got the nominee, going all that way back. You can even go back all the way to the Clinton debates with Bernie if you want, but this is what you get, DNC, for not actually having the spirit of democracy. You want the image of democracy, but you do not live the spirit of democracy, to put it in existential terms.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, replacing Biden at the convention is kind of, I mean, it's a long shot to begin with, because it's like, I was gonna say something earlier, and it's totally slipping my mind, but it it's just ultimately it does come down to the choice of Joe Biden himself and Kamala Harris, and like from what I've seen recently, like his arrogance, his ego is getting the best of him. He's him and his team are desperately trying right now to make it look like your mic's off. Uh-oh.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So I was just saying, so there's three questions. One, do you think he'll drop out either now at the convention at any point? Do you think Biden will get replaced as nominee? Two, do you think there's any chance it's not Kamala Harris, understanding with that restriction with the campaign finance, how the money that they've already raised under the Biden-Harris ticket can only be used to support her?
Yeah.
And then three, if it's not Kamala Harris, then who's it going to be? I mean, not necessarily who you want, but who's it going to be?
Right. I mean, first
And we can
question-
assume Gretchen Whitmer is going to be VP if they have half a brain.
Yeah. I guess the first question would be like, no, I don't think Biden has the foresight or the acknowledgement, for a foundation, has a basic understanding of the dire situation that they're in, the scope of how crucial this moment in American history is. I don't think he has the wherewithal to acknowledge that and thereby step down. And not to mention, like, he doesn't give a shit about the polls, even though all of them say like it's mostly because of his age. For two, Kamala Harris is obviously like the logical choice because she's the vice president, and of course all the funding would go to her, which would make campaigning a whole hell of a lot easier. She would get out there more. I think she like give it a little bit of time if she actually did replace him. I think that would give her a lot of time to actually build up, obviously, like her profile and her campaign, and try to convince the American public, like, let's carry on Biden's legacy. Let him resign like gracefully, so that way he maintains his dignity and legacy, and let's beat Trump. For three, if it did come down to like anybody else other than Kamala, like, I can go either Gretchen Whitmer or Gavin Newsom. I think it's J.B. Pearson, the Illinois governor, I believe. I do like him. I think he would be a good fit. I think he's like very he's not afraid to be straightforward and cut through the GOP bullshit. I've always liked what I've seen from him for the most part. But yeah, given those first two scenarios don't play out or what have you, like that's my take.
J.B. Pritzker?
Pritzker, that's right.
Yeah, I like the idea of him, but no. I think it's Newsom, Whitmer as the ideal thing. So that's what I would say is, ideally we'd have Biden resign.
In an ideal world, yep.
And then at the convention, Kamala turns over the keys to Gavin and Gretchen, and we grow up. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't even know if they're going to sub Biden, man. I think the energy is going to wane, and I think it comes down to, when in doubt, go to the premise. Do you think Biden's going to remove himself even in the first place? And so that's all the signs. I think as of right now, if no one in Biden's inner circle gets in his face and tells him ever so gently, whether it be Jill or, I don't know, maybe Barack.
Oh, God, dude, please.
Someone needs to kindly and gently get this octogenarian to get out of the way. I can live with Kamala and Gretchen. Yeah. I can live with that. I think you actually have a decent chance there. An all-women's ticket. Yeah. Make it all about women's rights. Women will show up for that. Why not?
Yeah. You might get those white women suburban voters that vote for Trump. Like
everybody always talks about them as the crux of the national elections, is the white suburban mothers
Yeah, just
That's what
get
everyone
a couple of
says.
centrist girl bosses in there. You'll flip some white Republican women. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
might have stumbled onto it. As much as I want to get Gavin in there, I think we've stumbled onto the best, or at least most likely combination. If it's not, if it's not
steps the fuck
Biden.
out of the way. I mean, come on. Like, Barack Obama worked with him for 8 years. You know, so he knows him, like, politically. Like, he's been in the game. Like, he knows him better than most in, you know, politics. Apart from obviously the dinosaurs that have been in Congress and the Senate as long as Joe Biden. So it's like, does Barack Obama not see the gravity of the situation? Does he not see, like, oh, the Supreme Court's acting this way, and if Biden loses, it's fucking over? Or is there another plan in place? Is there like a plan C, a plan D? Because
No.
like we forget.
Never give them credit. Never give them credit for having layered plans.
Well, I mean, you're probably right about that, but Biden's, because of the Supreme Court decision, Biden has a lot of power too. So, like, what if he invokes the Insurrection Act and maintains power if he loses? Could that be a thing? I doubt it. I don't think that he has the balls to do something like that, because, like, that sets a horrible precedent, and, like, good luck convincing, like, that would just, like, flip everything on its head. But, like, I mean, if it's to prevent Trump from taking over and, like, ending democracy as we know it, and enacting Project 2025 and getting even more, getting even more Supreme Court justices picked, like, I just don't think Joe Biden understands the dire situation that America is in right now.
Right.
He's not,
Yeah, I don't think he is
he's not
either.
up to the task. He's making it all about himself. If you've been paying attention to, like, he's making media rounds recently, trying to boost his profile, like, trying to convince people, oh, yeah, no, don't worry about the debate. Like, I'm still with it. I'm still hip. I've still got it. It's making it about himself.
Yeah, he said, I want to, as long as I do the goodest job, then I'll be able to look back and say I did the right thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
That's the real winner's attitude. This is what I'm talking about with the winners, losers. The liberals are losers, man. That's not a winner's attitude. I'm just doing the best I can. Losers always whine about their best.
That is why
They always whine about their best.
I am
Garbage.
not-
Get
I'm
out there
not
and
convinced
work.
at all that he's doing this for the betterment of the country at all.
No.
Because, like, sure, talk up your accomplishments. Like, he has been doing that a lot. Like, yeah, boast about your record. Like, you've done a lot of progressive things as president, like, arguably. But, like, he does it in a way that is
Incoherent.
well, of course, but also, like, egotistical. It
Right.
should be more about, like, what you provide rather than, like why you're the best. Like, it should be bigger than yourself. It should be about the future of America, and I don't think he actually gives a fuck about the future.
Well, historically speaking, this moment belongs to Barack Obama. This moment does not
Like,
belong
doesn't
to
he
Joe
see?
Biden.
Like, I was about to say that too. Like, doesn't Barack Obama see? Like, does he have a shred of humility in him to be like, oh, this is all fucked. I have to step in. Like, there has to be.
Well, he stepped in 4 years ago, so I don't see why he shouldn't step in again.
Right. Like,
You have demonstrated that you have no problem meddling with
and
the
you know what?
process.
And that was like a last minute thing too, so you might actually be right. It might actually come down.
Well, I
to
think
last
honestly,
minute
the
decision.
cleanest, the most democratic. So, the whole point about this business about it not being a democratic process to nominate the Democratic Party's nominee for president at this point is false, because there's new information. This is new information.
Yeah.
His mental capacity to perform the duties of president have potentially been compromised within the last couple years, and we're just now learning about it. So,
At least more widely.
if you want to have a democratic process that actually looks like a democratic process, even though it probably isn't strong enough for many people, is you have Barack Obama lead a traditional open convention. And you have the delegates do it, and you have them make speeches, and it would be really exciting, and it would be historic. And if it went down that way, that is the precedent to set.
Yeah, especially...
Is that if we're going to do it, this is how we're going to do it. If we're going to have an open convention, this is what it's going to look like.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be mind-blowing. The media frenzy that would come from that would be incredible.
Like, minds need to be changed. If Biden is serious about sticking to the campaign and staying in, he's not getting any younger. Like, he needs, he has a lot of convincing to do. And I don't know if you watched a lot of Kyle Kalinske today. He covered a bit of this, but the interviews that he's been doing, it's scripted. It's not.
Right.
He's reading answers out loud. He's not doing it on the spot. And it's pretty obvious. Someone actually admitted that and got fired for it. But like Obama has a lot of star power still. Like, if he was to lead the charge and just crusade for Biden, like whether it be at the convention or on the campaign trail, it could make a big difference because he still does have a lot of sway.
You mean crusade for an open convention? You want him to crusade for Biden?
Well, as in like, if they weren't going to actually replace him, if they're actually going to go through with keeping him there and not actually have an open convention, but if that's not going to be the case, because ultimately, like, what I think is going to happen is he's just going to stay out. He probably won't even go to the convention, especially if they choose to have it open, because even that's up in the air too because of the shit. Like, some of it's going to be virtual, and they're trying to avoid the protests and blah 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 blah. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, there's just so many coin flips. It's so complex. There's so much there's so many things can happen, and that could lead to different outcomes, and the variability of it all is like almost impossible to navigate, like as one person, because anything can happen. There's so many variables.
So the answer to the question of whether or not Barack Obama is going to clean up the mess that he created is maybe.
Yeah,
I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic.
It depends.
He's the only one, really. I mean, I'm thinking the math. I mean, Jill's not going to do it.
No. I think Jill's like a huge enabler.
Kamala's not going to do it.
If I'm being honest, I think Jill Biden is.
Of course,
big
that's what everyone's
yeah.
saying. Yeah, that's what everyone's saying.
Yeah, but it depends on what happens from now until the convention. When it comes to the involvement of Barack Obama, no final say on him in general until at least we get closer to the convention. But either way, if the White House, if everybody surrounding Biden, if the elites, the establishment truly did believe in Biden, obviously they would be rallying around him, and they would get big names involved: Hillary, Barack Obama, whoever, you know.
All right, so maybe we should take. So I've got to go to the studio. So I've got to go to the studio tomorrow to record at the green screen. I've been really struggling with this guns episode. It's like to wrap up my Who Are MAGA series.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about instead doing like something like show some balls DNC and do an open convention or something.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about how you were planning on like just releasing like a sequence of videos leading up to the convention, right?
No, this would be different. This is just a special video of like.
Oh,
Well,
right,
yeah,
right,
yeah. I would like to do that too.
Right, right.
But that's more of the scripted stuff that I've been working on for literally years.
Like subject.
No, this would be just something that I would record tomorrow and try to get out as soon as possible.
Oh yeah.
And try and see if it could maybe catch some eyes. But it's like make the argument for Barack Obama leading an open convention. What if we had an open convention where we actually talked about policy, where we actually had candidates making presentations about like what they would do with the country if they became presidents? And I mean, that would be. I mean, where is the creativity? None of this is going to necessarily happen, but the challenge, right? That's what I'm going to want to go for. Is I'm challenging the DNC establishment to have some balls, and so it's like big balls, Barack. Show us how to have some balls, man.
Yeah.
This is what they said about you when you were president. They said you were soft.
Yeah.
They said you were soft.
Yeah.
Now clean up the mess that you made.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to go with that messaging, like clean up the mess that you made, but like
Sure.
Barack,
At least
it's time to save us one more time or whatever.
Yeah, at least prove that the notion that you are soft is flimsy at best. Like, sure, you have charisma, you have charm, you are popular with the Democratic base, but when it comes to the tough shit, you have to of course he's far past his prime, obviously, 8 years later, Jesus. But just to set all the worry aside, at the very least, who knows? Hopefully he does at least he contributes some sort of positive, so that way we can steer the ship in the right direction away from the impending doom that is Project 2025.
So if we maybe in a dream scenario, we would have an open convention where the candidates make presentations about what their policies would be, how they feel about different interviews. I mean, what about if we had Obama just interview them, it could be, I mean,
Now that's creative.
Now,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
leverage the ethos of Obama. Obama is a magnet for the country's attention.
Yeah.
So have him just lead, and maybe he leads even not necessarily debates, but conversations.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then the delegates, they come from various parts of the country. They make themselves available to their constituents. They hear from their constituents, and we do the best we can about coming up with a ticket that works for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that would be that would be historic, and it'd be like we tried. Like we saw the writing on the wall and we tried something different.
Yeah.
Instead of trying the same thing. This is the alcoholic's definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So let's do something different, DNC.
Yeah, even if you have to fake it, because it's kind of clear, because I've only seen little clips here and there of Biden's interview with Stephanopoulos, but obviously that it's pre-recorded. It's cut up. It's segmented. It's not an entire interview. It's not live.
Right.
And they were anticipating these questions to begin with. It's something that they completely prepared for. So even if you have to script it, even if you have to edit it, cut down, so you make Biden or whoever it is look as presidential and on point as possible. That's what's appealing to even apolitical people, people who aren't in the deep know of politics. That is what I think can help change minds, especially when it comes to independents or people who are just doubtful about the integrity of the Democratic establishment or whoever the candidate might be, or just Joe Biden in general.
So we can dream. We can hope. We can.
That's all it comes down to at this point. One can dream, you know. It's like you gotta get past so many variables. Like I said, a lot of it seems contradictory. Like once you get like too deep into the weeds about it, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah. I know. Once you get into the weeds is the problem. Like that video we watched where it's just the most superficial analysis, and this is the head of political analysis at Business Insider. I'm like, this guy? You have your business. I mean, you know how much I would have loved to have worked as the head of political analysis at Business Insider. Like it's a hell of a brand. I would wake up and churn content for them if they would pay me. Like, give me that platform. I would do nothing but, I'd come out with an hour of quality content every day.
Even if I don't particularly believe in what I'm churning out either. It's just like, I got you.
Well, that would be the deal. You got to negotiate that up front.
Of course. Yeah, exactly.
You got to negotiate that up front. But not everybody has the same kind of leverage, Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's going to be a mess, but the challenge to Barack has got to be like, this is your chance at toughness, Barack. This is your chance to show everybody that you're not soft. You're actually more strong-willed than everybody thought you were. And you're going to show us the way. You're not even going to show us the way. Like, don't even protect, like, no savior bullshit. It's just, he's going to be a custodian over a fair process by which we will find a replacement for Joe Biden at this year's convention.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, man, like, people who are part of the DNC establishment who think that, like, they've done a good job and they deserve a pat on the back for getting us out of Trumpville when, in 2020, they gotta get a little bit of a reality check because we're still here.
Yeah.
And we're dealing with this. And like we've talked about, we give the world chronic anxiety with this shit every 4 years. It's the nation, for the people who are paying attention, it gives me anxiety. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about this stuff.
No, yeah, it's maddening. Like, I mean, if I am feeling this deeply, like, terrified about the potential future that lays just beyond the election as if Trump were to win, I would genuinely hope that anybody who has any modicum of power up there in Washington feels worse than I do about it and actually does something. Put their egos aside, put their careers aside, understand the gravity of what we're dealing with, and do something about it. If you have any sliver of influence, say something. Go wherever you have to go. Talk to whoever you have to talk to. Convince whoever you have to convince. We have to beat Trump.
I'm going to try to grind out this video tomorrow so then we can try to tell people to, maybe try to retweet it or if they will. And I'll try to keep it really simple. Mm-hmm. I want to keep it really simple. Like, I don't speak for lefties, but here's a proposal from a wannabe progressive. Because I still, I don't know. I consider myself progressive, but there are still certain things that I'm not necessarily. I can't think of anything right now, but I remember I've heard some progressive articulate certain positions that I'm like, no, I don't necessarily agree with that.
Sure.
But as far as making a deal with progressives for this election, if you want us to show up, show us some balls. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. If you want us to show up, show us some balls.
Yeah, especially when you consider the fact that Michigan is in play more than ever because there's a large Arab American population there, and you're going to be hard pressed to convince them to go out and vote for Genocide Joe.
Yeah, they really need a clean start on
Yeah.
Israel, Gaza, and I can't believe Netanyahu is coming to speak to a special joint session of Congress.
Gross.
That is absolutely gross.
Disgusting.
What the hell is that? I mean, it's just a
Yeah.
statement as to how deep the Israeli lobby is in our politics. APAC, man.
Like,
APAC and the
regardless.
NRA. It's hard to believe that APAC is similar in size to the NRA because everybody knows that the NRA is a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's like you say, oh, APAC's, yeah, it's not as big, but it's on its way there. It's the next one down. And you're like, oh my God, that's enormous.
For real. There's a whole lot more. Like the Democrats need to gain a lot more momentum. They have a lot of ground to cover. They have a lot of ground to recover. Like from whoever the leaders are from now until the election, because like a lot of like Congress people, as well as senators to an extent, are deeply concerned about the lack of turnout if Biden were to remain the nominee. Because if
Yeah.
people don't show up to vote for
down ballots.
because like it or not, like a lot of people only care about the presidency
Presidential election, yeah.
when like local and state
It's so
down
sad.
ballot races, they're the crucially important. It's like you want change, work from the ground up, like start locally, but a lot of people don't look at it that way. But if like, because a lot of them don't care about Biden, they're just gonna stay home, and that always affects down ballot races. So like, excuse me. So if Biden's not like getting people out to vote, then those down ballot candidates have less of a chance of winning.
If you want us to show up, show us some balls, Barack. All right.
Yeah.
So, wait, what did you just say, though? That was good. I wanted to write that down.
Okay, so like candidates on down ballot tickets.
Oh, down ballot races. Down ballot races.
Yeah. If there's no energy,
Do you know?
for like, if there's no motivation to get out and vote for Joe Biden, that hurts down ballot candidates, like ultimately, because like if you're not going out to vote, because there's multiple, like when you go out and vote, like if you've ever voted before, you're not just voting for the president, you're voting for your state races, you're voting for your local races, your mayor, your assembly members, your council members, your mayor. I probably just hardly said that. Your congressperson, your senator, your state senators. There's a lot more to elections than just like, who do I want the president to be, you know? And so like if there's no energy, if there's no motivation being churned out by your preferred party, then it affects everybody on the ticket. Period.
All right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I wonder how I'm going to start it. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a cool little writing exercise. I don't know if I go personal with it or like, I don't know. It's going to be fun. All right, what else do you want to cover? I feel like people have saw, Joe Biden appeared on Morning Joe, like you talked about with the scripted stuff. He's reading notes. I don't really want to do that. The Stephanopoulos interview, everyone's seen it by now. I don't really care about anything like that. The polls. Oh, let's take a look at these polls. So this is Michigan. Trump is up by 0.7. But where's the most recent? Now that's July 1 through 5, Morning Consult. Not psyched. It's about the sample size. I wish the sample size were a little bit bigger. Biden's up 48-43. Wow.
Emerson has some time.
And 45-39.
I mean,
So
it's sort of kind of promising, I guess.
All right, so but I think that's the strongest one.
Like,
Go ahead.
because you can see after the debate there, and like when they're side by side, like the lines, you can see like them start to separate just a little bit. But now they're starting to come back a lot more evenly, I guess you could say. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And now let's check out Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Because Biden should be strong here, and he's not.
Oh,
Trump's
look
up
at that.
3.2.
Since the debate, Biden's losing ground. That's a
July
very
1
crucial
through
state.
4, Trump 5. Wow, dude, this looks pretty solid Trump right now. So Pennsylvania is the big reason. How can he not win Pennsylvania, Joe?
I know. God,
That's like
damn
your
it.
bread and butter, man.
Yeah.
It's your bread and butter. All right,
he
so
needs
he's in
to-
horrible shape in Pennsylvania. He's in manageable shape in Michigan, but he's in horrible shape in Pennsylvania.
That's bad.
And let's check out Wisconsin, because we know that one is somewhat doable. Trump's up 1.4 is the aggregate, but looking at the most recent polls, okay, Biden's up. Okay, this Wisconsin's more manageable than Pennsylvania
It
was.
actually looks similar to Michigan. There was,
But it's all over the place. You've got Remington
though.
Research here with +6, and then Emerson at +3. It's a little bit all over the place. So Wisconsin's up in the air.
yeah.
So-
like after the debate, you could see like June 23rd. You could see them start to split just a little bit. And Trump getting a little bit of ground, but now it's starting to like creep back into a dead heat. Weird.
Yeah, it is weird. All right, and then let's just take a look at other polls just to Arizona. I'm pretty sure is Trump's up 5.7.
Yeah, similar thing to a big
3,
split after
7.
the debate. Then
Yep.
it's starting to come back together just a little bit.
Georgia, oof, Trump's up 5.6 there in the aggregate, but he's only up 1 and 2 in the morning consult poll.
Yeah.
That 30th through the 2nd, that Emerson College thing says Trump's up 5. I trust the Emerson poll
Yeah.
a lot. Democrats for the Next Generation was the super PAC that performed the polls, so there's no reason for that. If that thing's going to have any kind of bias, it was going to favor Biden.
Yeah.
And now
some
it
older
looks-
ones from
that
the
is
Hill
horrible
were probably a bit more
right
accurate.
there. So Trump, so we got to concede that Arizona and Georgia are both going back red. Take a look at Nevada real quick. Not the most important state, but let's take a look at it. Yeah, Trump's up 5.
Yeah. Pulling away a little bit.
They like their guns. Punts, oof, +6 in that Emerson poll that they just did.
Yeah. God.
Oof.
Like how I don't get how Biden like himself can look at these polls at these crucial swing states and not show any concern. You know, does he
Because
really
he doesn't know
think-
what's going on.
You're right, yeah.
He doesn't know what's going on. God only knows what he's being told, how he's insulated. These people are pampered celebrities. This is one of the things I'm going to be talking about in later episodes, is that
And the country.
when you have people from humble beginnings rightfully get into positions of power and influence, that power and influence can affect them because they're not used to being around it. They're not understanding how that might affect them, and how a little bit of flexibility on their morals, shall we say,
Yeah.
can benefit them personally just a little bit, and that's how it happens. It is the slippery slope of behavior, where you start to concede a little bit here, and that benefits you a little bit more there, and then you concede a little bit there, and that benefits you a little bit more over there, and then before you know it, your values have been compromised.
Yep. God, it's a sad thing. And
Yep.
I think like it goes to show that like that's clearly what's been happening to Biden over the course of his entire career.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's completely arrogant. And I think next to Trump, he probably doesn't come across as arrogant or as narcissistic, but
Right, 'cause
he
it's hard to
legitimately
pick up
thinks
on.
he's doing the country a favor by running for president in 2020 and beating Trump
Yeah.
and taking him out. He felt like he did the country a solid in 2020, and
It's
he
that
didn't.
entitlement.
He didn't, dude. He didn't. You didn't. Nobody asked you to run, man.
Yeah,
In
he-
fact,
he won a
Obama
very-
told him that, Joe, you don't have to run, Joe.
Yeah, that's right.
Obama gave him an out.
He won due to it was a very, very unique situation. Like there was like a civil rights uprising at the time, and we were coming off of COVID. Like we were in the midst of it. So it's like anybody but Trump, and he squeaked by. And he thinks he's God because of it. Like fuck, dude.
Yeah, well, he's got a rude awakening coming. All right, my man. Well, that's it for me right now. Do you have any final parting thoughts for our audience?
I mean, I was thinking like
Stay strong.
I was thinking we did the Stephanopoulos thing, but like I'm just jaded and exhausted by all this shit, dude.
Everybody's already seen the Stephanopoulos highlights. I mean, you know,
it's like if it's one thing I want to respond to, which we touched on earlier, the highlight I did see is like he was asked like, well, what if like we carry through to the election and you do end up losing to Trump? What would you think then? Well, I gave it my best shot. And it's
right.
just fucking kill me now. Like, how the fuck is that an acceptable response to the answer, given what is just around, just what is in store for America, given your loss to this bloviating orange diaper shitting fascist, dude. Christ on a cross. Anyway, we'll see you all Wednesday. Thanks for joining in. That's all I have to.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's my parting thoughts.
All right. Well, I'll keep it simple. Don't forget that you don't get change in America by asking nicely. Stick around, and you'll find out why. Bye-bye.
See you guys.